Okay, let's be real for a sec. Who hasn't seen like a video game tester wanted ad and thought, sign me up, right? Like getting paid to play games all day, that's the dream job, right?
Yeah.
But is it really all fun and games?
Yeah.
Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of digital game testing, and we're using RoleCatcher for this one. It's a career platform that breaks down what it takes skill-wise to get into this field.
Yeah, it's definitely a tempting fantasy, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it is a real job though.
Okay.
And a surprisingly demanding one actually.
Really?
Oh yeah, we're talking quality assurance. The often unsung heroes, who make sure that the games we love are actually playable and enjoyable.
Right.
Imagine investing all that time, hours into a game only to hit like a game-breaking bug or just encounter clunky mechanics.
Oh, yeah.
That's where QA testers come in.
Yeah.
They're the front lines protecting the player's experience,
That's-
which impacts everything.
Yeah.
A game's success, a studio's ability to even keep making games.
So it's more than just playing the latest release and goofing off.
Oh, absolutely. RoleCatcher's breakdown of what a game tester actually does goes way beyond button mashing.
Okay.
They highlight all the variety involved, analyzing functionality, scrutinizing graphics, and yes, even evaluating the overall playability of a game.
Okay.
And it's not just about finding glitches, it's about figuring out if the core gameplay loop is even engaging, if the controls feel good and responsive, and if the game is actually fun.
Right, because you could have the most stunning graphics in the world, but if the gameplay is tedious, no one's going to stick around.
Exactly. And that's where the need for strong analytical and communication skills comes in.
Oh, really?
Anyone can spot a typo or a crash, but a good game tester can articulate why something isn't working.
Okay.
They need to break down complex issues for the developers who are, deep in the weeds of coding and design.
Right.
Think of it like being a detective and a translator all rolled into one.
So you're not just playing a game, you're dissecting it, analyzing its mechanics, and then communicating those findings in a way that helps the developers improve the final product.
Exactly. And that communication aspect is crucial.
Okay.
Let's say you uncover a major bug, like something that could completely stall a player's progress.
Right.
Just saying, this doesn't work isn't helpful.
No.
You need to clearly document the steps to reproduce the bug, explain its potential impact on other players, and maybe even suggest solutions.
Oh, wow.
It's about advocating for the player while working with the dev team.
So you're advocating for the end user, the player, but also working within the constraints of a development team facing deadlines and pressure.
Absolutely. And that's where things can get interesting.
Okay.
Imagine finding a game-breaking bug right before launch.
I know.
The pressure is on, and the developers might be hesitant to delay things.
Yeah, that sounds like a whole other story for later in the deep dive.
Right.
But for now, RoleCatcher mentions flexible hours, which sounds great.
Yeah.
But then there's the dreaded crunch time, which we've all heard about in the gaming industry.
Right.
How do those two things even exist together? It's like trying to find the balance, like between a casual gaming gig and then that high-pressure software development world.
Yeah, it's tricky.
How does that actually work when you're talking about like career progression?
Well, that's where the whole flexible hours thing can be kind of misleading, especially when you're just starting out.
Oh, okay.
Early on, you're probably looking at more freelance or contract-based jobs,
Right.
which, yeah, they offer flexibility, but usually less stability too.
Right.
And the pay's not as good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
RoleCatcher actually breaks down the typical career path into like junior, intermediate, senior.
Okay.
Each level comes with more responsibility, of course, but thankfully the pay goes up too.
So when you're starting out, it's more about getting the experience and proving what you can do.
Exactly. So a junior tester might focus on one specific area of a game, like meticulously going through menus for UI bugs or stress testing combat scenarios.
Okay.
Then as you get more experience and you show you've got those analytical and communication skills that we talked about,
Right.
you might move into an intermediate role. Maybe you're leading a small team of testers now managing the bug database, or even working directly with developers on certain features.
So I'm guessing the senior roles are where the real crunch time kicks in, especially like close to a release date.
Yeah, it can definitely get intense in those senior positions.
Yeah.
Imagine you're leading a whole team of testers in those final weeks before a big game launch.
Oh, yeah.
You're coordinating all the testing, making sure the critical bugs are getting fixed first, and just making sure the game meets those high-quality standards.
So basically the pressure's on you.
It can be grueling, for sure. But it's also incredibly rewarding, seeing your work pay off when millions of players are enjoying a polished game.
I bet.
It is.
Speaking of skills, though, RoleCatcher's list kind of surprised me. I
Right.
was expecting, a huge emphasis on being good at games.
Yes.
But they mentioned reading comprehension, judgment and decision-making, even time management. So it's not all just reflexes and button combos then.
No, not at all. Remember, game testing, it's not just one thing. It's technical, it's analytical, it's even about how you work with people.
Okay.
And reading comprehension, that's huge. You've got to be able to go through those complex design documents, understand the technical side of things, and figure out what the feedback from players and devs even means.
So it's like you need to speak gamer and developer.
Exactly. And that's where judgment and decision-making are key.
Okay. How so?
Well, imagine you find a bug, but it only happens under very specific circumstances.
Okay.
You have to figure out how serious it is, how much it'll actually affect players, if they'll even encounter it.
And I'm guessing that's where the time management comes in.
Absolutely. Testers are always working under tight deadlines. They're juggling multiple tasks.
Right.
You need to prioritize what are the absolute most critical issues, but also keep the big picture in mind, the overall player experience.
It's crazy how much goes into making a game that we as players never even think about.
Yeah, it's a whole hidden world. And it's changing all the time, too. Well, RoleCatcher even talked about how automated systems are changing how companies hire testers these days.
Oh, wow.
It's not just about impressing the hiring manager anymore. You've got to stand out to algorithms now. Programs that scan resumes looking for specific keywords and skills.
So how do you even begin to navigate that? It's like you need a cheat code just to get your foot in the door.
You need a cheat code.
Yeah, just to even get someone to look at you.
Kinda. And RoleCatcher actually gives you some of those cheat codes.
Okay.
Their advice really comes down to this. Understand what game studios are really looking for and make sure your resume, your cover letter, they reflect that.
Right.
Like, it's not enough to just list every game you've ever played or every bug you've ever found.
It's not about how many hours you've sunk into Call of Duty.
Yeah.
It's about showing those other skills, right?
Yeah.
The problem solving, the communication,
Yeah.
the attention to detail that you need to be a good tester.
Exactly. Highlight any experience you have with beta testing or being in online forums, even modding games. Those things show you're genuinely passionate about games and that you get how they work.
It's like that saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's not just what you know about games, it's how you show it.
Exactly. And once you're in, the learning doesn't stop there.
Right, because RoleCatcher talked about those career paths.
Mm.
Remember, it's not like you're going to be a tester forever.
Yeah, you can use that experience, those skills, to move up in the industry.
They mentioned becoming a lead tester, a QA manager, even moving into game design or production.
And those are just a few options. Imagine you're a tester who's always finding those really complex bugs, offering creative solutions, working well with the devs you're showing leadership there.
So you could go from hunting bugs to leading the bug hunters or even having a say in how the games are designed.
Exactly. It's about using what you've learned as a tester to open up those other doors.
Yeah.
Someone who's skilled at testing, who gets both the technical side and the creative side, that person is valuable to any studio.
This has been awesome, honestly. I think so many people, including myself, we come into this with this idea of, oh, I get paid to play games.
Right.
But it's so much more than that.
It is.
It's a real craft, a skill set that takes dedication, passion, and a real love for games.
I couldn't agree more. It's tough work for sure, but if you really love games and you've got that eye for detail,
Yeah.
it can be a super rewarding career.
So for anyone listening who might be thinking about getting into game testing, what's like the one big takeaway you want them to remember?
Don't underestimate the experience you already have. Every time you play a game, you're getting better. You're developing your skills. You're learning what makes a good game great. Turn that passion into a job. Show off highlight your skills and never stop learning.
That's a wrap for today's deep dive into the world of digital game testing. Huge thanks to RoleCatcher for the info. And to all of you listening out there, happy gaming. And remember, that controller in your hand might be more than just for fun. It could be your ticket to a whole new career